Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and start the recording. So welcome everybody. Can you all see me? Is my video on? No, because it was on at first, and then somehow, oh, there it is. Okay, got it. All right, so welcome aboard to our session today. We're going to be going over counter arguments. My name is Erica Webb. So it's nice to see some of you all. A lot of you all just kind of see through email or through chat. So again, we're going to go over counter arguments, how to form one. So I'm going to show you the agenda. We'll kind of go from there. If you have any questions, I do have my chat box open. So please feel free to chat me, or you can chat other students. I like to make this kind of interactive where we're kind of going, asking questions to each other or talking to each other. Or you can unmute the line at any time. This is a recorded call, recorded video session. We try to record the session so we can send them to other students if they weren't able to attend tonight's chat. I also have a 7-month-year-old son. So if you happen to hear somebody crying in the background, that will probably be him. If you have kids, you know you cannot control when they cry, but I'm hoping that he does not cry too much during this time. So I'm going to so everybody should hopefully be able to see my screen. And again, let me go to my chat box. I like to kind of keep that open on the side so I can see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to pretty much start out at about 6:30. We're going to start out, which is, well, actually, this was made for yesterday because I was supposed to start at 6:30. So all the times are a little off, so it's not really a huge deal. But I'm going to start off introducing the topic, which I already did. We're going to go over the agenda and then what the objectives are. Next, we're going to I'm kind of explain the counter argument, how to write one. We're going to practice writing one, and then we're going to wrap up the lesson. And if you have any questions, we'll go over that at that time. So right here, I talk about our essential questions, which is pretty much what is a counterclaim and why is a counterclaim important? Okay, so that's pretty much what we're going to be focusing on today. All right, so move this box over here. Okay, so first, before we kind of go over what a counterclaim is, we know that we have an argument. Okay, so whenever you're asked about a counterclaim, it means you're getting ready to do some type of persuasive writing. And persuasive writing is you're trying to persuade somebody to take your position. Okay, so we have the argument. You'll be asked to write a counterclaim in the essay where you have to take a position, argue a point. You first start with your position or your side of the argument, and then you write your counterclaim. Okay, so the only time you ever really write a counterclaim is if you're writing some sort of persuasive topic. Most students like to do persuasive writing because it gives you opportunity to argue. And if you like to debate or argue, like most of us kind of do about something, it really gives you the opportunity to tell all about your side, but you have to do a counterclaim. And a counterclaim is an argument or a claim that runs counter to someone else's original argument. So to put it in more simple terms, it's what the other side of your argument may have to say about your argument. Okay, so you have your argument, and we're going to go over an example in a minute, but you have your argument, and then the counter is what the other side or what those other people will have to say about your argument. Because remember, there's always two sides to every argument. Okay, so it's whatever position you take, and then you have the opposition or the other side. So I'm going to give you an example. This is a lot of writing on here, but I'm going to break it down very slowly. And again, if you have any questions, I do have my chat box open, or you can feel free to unmute your line and kind of hop in if you need to. So we're going to just do this as an example. The topic would be students taking a break after high school. Okay, so that's the topic. So I just chose a position. My position is that students should not take a break in between high school and college. Okay, and again, I don't really agree with this either way. This is just the side that I chose to take for the point of this lesson. Okay, now reasons to support my position: personal growth and maturity are best gained on a college campus, and students will be behind academically if too much time has lapsed in between when they graduate from when they go back to college. Okay, now, so my full position sentence would be students should not take a break in between high school and college because personal growth and maturity are best gained on a college campus and because students will be behind academically if too much time has lapsed. So again, right now, I'm not working on the counterclaim. I'm simply just working on my argument because you have to write your argument first and your side and your position first so you know what your arguments are, okay? Now, so then when it gets to the part in the assignment where it says write the counterclaim, this is where you have to go to the other side, okay? So obviously the other side will say what? That students they should take a break from high school. They think it's a good idea, okay? So then you have to start thinking like, well, why, if you're writing a counterclaim, you have to always think about the other side and why they would say that, okay? So remember, I think that students should not take a break, but the other side where I'm doing my counterclaim, they say students should take a break. So they have to come up with some reasons to support that counterclaim. And the reasons could be experiences away from the classroom, they contribute to personal growth and maturity. And then this break will allow students to save the money that they need to pay for the high expenses of college, okay? So my full counterclaim sentence would be, some may argue that taking a break between high school and college is a great idea because experiences away from the classroom contribute to personal growth and maturity, and because this break will allow for students to save money to pay for college. Somebody said, can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep track of that. Yes, Lisa, go ahead. I'm gonna pause for a second. And again, I'm trying to make sure I keep my chat box up so I'm not missing people's chats. But you can either unmute the line if you have a question and speak your question, or you can type it in the chat box and then I'll answer it from there. I don't know if you can hear me, Lisa. I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, I should say. Lisa, do you want to unmute the line to ask your question? Or do you want to type it in the box? All right, I'm going to keep rolling. If Lisa, I would like to know how many classes of English left. How many classes of English do you have left, Lisa? If that's what you're asking, that's something that we could talk about after the after the recording is over. Or you could really contact your academic coach, okay? He or she should be able to let you know exactly how many English classes you have left. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, does anybody have any questions thus far about arguments and counterclaims so far, just based off of this example? I'm getting ready to actually break down the counterclaim for you in more detail, but this kind of just gives you a start. And I'm trying to keep track of the time too, so make sure. Okay. All right, perfect. So everybody remember Home Alone where, you know, Macaulay Culkin is like, or his name was Kevin in the movie. But I'm afraid to show the other side, one to weaken my argument. People are so afraid to give the other side because they feel like, well, if I give the other side, then the person reading it might think, oh my goodness, like maybe that side is the better side. So people are often afraid to even present a counter because they think, well, I want people to take my side. So I gave my side. All I want to give is my side. I don't want to give the other side because if I present too much to the other side, then the person reading it might switch to the other side. But this is where we're going to talk about how to do that later. But remember, don't be afraid, because here's why a counterclaim is important. And I'm going to explain to you why you need to have one. First of all, this shows that you are well-rounded in your thinking because you have considered multiple sides. You're not just trying to be selfish and make it all about your side. You're showing the reader, I have thought about the other sides too, okay? So the reader won't just see you as one-sided. It strengthens your argument by giving you a chance to respond to your reader's objections before they have even finished reading your essay. Because a lot of times students will, or readers will say, okay, well, they already have objections to your arguments as they're reading it, but it'll give you a chance to address all of those before you're done. And counterclaims should be presented respectfully. So if it's done in this manner, the reader can respectfully see all sides. So you're not trying to completely go against the other side in a disrespectful manner, but you do want to present all sides. So how do you introduce it? Okay. So it's important to show the reader that you're about to express a view different than the thesis. If you don't give the proper signal that this is about to happen, then it will seem like you are now taking the other side, and you would have contradicted yourself. So what I see a lot of times when people do counters, they'll have their argument, and all of a sudden they go into a counter, but it's not clear that it's a counter. All of a sudden it looks like you've taken two sides. So then you start talking about the other side. So now I'm thinking like, well, which side have you taken? So you want to be clear when you first start your counter that you're getting ready to present a counter and that it's not really your side. You're just presenting the other side. Okay. So how do you start a counter? Many people believe, argue, feel that, and then you put your counter. Or some may say that, or some may argue that, and then you insert your counter. Or it is often thought that, and then you insert your counter. So in that paragraph, I'm aware that you saying some may say. I'm not saying that. So I'm not. So I'm telling the reader this is not my argument, but some other people may argue that. Okay. Any questions thus far? Okay. So here is the rebuttal. So I love this picture down here because I'm getting ready to completely smash the other side. Okay. So once you have your counterclaim and you've presented the other side, you presented your sentence that says some may argue or some may agree that, and then you present the other side. Now every counterclaim has to have a rebuttal. Okay. So now remember, you're not trying to take the other side. You're only trying to present it. But once you give your counterclaim for the other side, you have to destroy the counterclaim, because remember, you don't want the person to take the other person's side. This is merely just, I want to give you a glimpse, give you all sides of the argument. I'm going to tell you what everybody else is saying, but now I'm going to tell you why that side is wrong and why my side is the best side. Okay. So simply stated, the rebuttal is a yes, but, or you're wrong and here's why. Okay. And again, I'm going to show you all of this in a minute, so this will all make more sense. I'm kind of just giving you a little bit of a background. Okay. So it's a, while this may be true, my position is still the better position. Okay. Again, you want to bring the reader back to your side because you're trying to persuade him or her to take your original position. And that's really what you need to make sure that you're doing when you're presenting your argument. Okay. So I hope this is big enough. I don't know if I really thought about this. One second, you all. Okay. Here we go. All right. So remember in the previous example that I gave about students taking a break from high school, and I took the position that students should not. Okay. But remember, the counterclaim would be that some may argue that taking a break between high school and college will serve as a benefit. So the people on the other side are going to say, oh, okay, this is actually a good idea. So you see how I use my phrase, some may argue. So that's kind of lets the reader know all of a sudden, hey, she's no longer speaking about herself. She's not getting ready to transition over to giving the other side. Okay. So now I've made it clear that I'm not contradicting myself by putting that. Now, here are my reasons to support my counterclaim. These supporters of the break claim that experiences away from the classroom contribute to personal growth and maturity. They also claim this break will allow students to save money to pay for the often high expenses of college. Both of these points hold some truth. Okay, so I'm acknowledging that, okay, these points could be true. Taking a break will allow students to engage in experiences such as a job or possible community service that will allow for growth and maturity. And for those students who are financially strapped and need to save up money for college tuition, room and board, books, and other expenses, this time off will allow a year or two to save money as to not exit college in debt. So now I'm giving a glimpse of the other side. I'm saying, okay, look, yes, people that say that students should take a break, here's why, and I can sort of understand what they're saying. But remember that picture of the guy smashing the computer, I have to come back with my rebuttal, okay? And the rebuttal is, Now I'm going to tell you why all of that is wrong and why my side is still the better side. Okay. And so I say, however, now I'm letting you know, like, yeah, okay, I agree, but let me give you the other side. Growth and maturity can be found and conquered on a college campus. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to experience growth and maturity outside of college. You can do it while you're on the college campus. The demands of being responsible for oneself without the assistance of adults, as well as meeting new people, roommates, classmates on campus, allows for growth. Having time to learn time management skills in order to keep up with the workload of classes will most certainly cause growth and maturity. Simply being in a foreign place and having to learn to adapt can cause growth and maturity. And so I had a little bit more, but for the sake of time, I've kind of cut some of it down. But hopefully you understand what I did with my rebuttal. So yes, I presented the other side. I said, this is why the other side, these are the points for the other side. But now I have to rebuttal that side and tell why that side is wrong and why my side is correct. And I have to rebuttal each point. Okay, so if the one of the points was that supporters say that the break will help with personal growth and maturity, then I need to argue that point about personal growth and maturity. When they talked about here, it will also allow for students to save up money for college. Then my next point, I have to rebuttal that point. So you want to go point by point. Whatever point you bring up, you want to rebuttal. The other point, rebuttal. So whatever points you present for the other side, you want to rebuttal each side. And rebuttal pretty much in a simple way means to, for me, it means to destroy. You want to come back and destroy the other side and say why that side is incorrect. Okay. So are there any questions? Because we're going to do a little bit of practice with one of the activities in the class. I just wonder if anybody has any questions about arguing, taking the pro side, or doing a counterclaim, or doing a rebuttal. We're good? Okay. So we are going to do a little practice, and this is for English 10 semester 1. So you might not necessarily be enrolled in this course, but either, you know, you might be enrolled in it, maybe you've already taken it, or you will take it at some point. But either way, it's still a good example of counter argument, and it's for English 10 semester 1, activity 7.4.1. If you're already in this class, this might be helpful to you if you have to get to this assignment. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this activity actually speaks to Donald Trump or President Trump, and it's asking you to first write your first paragraph, which is and I'm down here so you all can see your first paragraph, where you're either going to support or not support President Trump's travel ban. Okay, and this is the actual assignment. And then the second paragraph, you will address the biggest argument against your opinion, which would be the counterclaim. Okay, so the first thing you have to decide is whether or not you want to be in favor of President Trump's executive order banning travel from countries into the U.S., or you're not in favor. But we're going to, for the sake of the class, I'm going to get out of this. We're going to say we're against it. Okay, and again, this does not represent my personal views either way. I just thought that we would just go against it for the sake of the class. So in the chat box, if everybody could write down a couple reasons why you would be against the travel ban, despite what your personal beliefs might be. My screen is still on how to write a counterclaim. Red has agenda and some questions. Are you all able to see my screen where it says the arguments? Can you see that? Lisa, you can't see my screen? Okay, so if everybody could, because I'm getting a couple of different messages. If everybody could type in, like, open up your chat box and let me know, can you see the current screen I'm on that says kind arguments? So all you can see is the agenda. Just the agenda. Okay, let me get out of this. Okay, so I closed out of the agenda. So can everybody see the screen where it says kind arguments? Now I see. Okay. So let me ask you this: was it just stuck on the agenda screen the whole time, or did you all see any of the presentation?
You hear me?
Uh-oh, who's talking?
Can you hear me? This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. I can hear you.
Okay, good. No, the whole time it was just stuck there.
Oh my goodness, no.
All of the talking you didn't even show anything, but
You
you
couldn't
talking.
see anything. I don't know how that happened.
Nothing, but just you talking.
Jose said he saw the presentation.
I didn't see anything but the agenda where you had the lesson up, what you was going to be talking about and doing. That's all I saw.
Donna, did you see anything? Donna, did you see the other slides? Okay, all right, y'all. This was so horrible. So you all didn't see any of these? Like when I'm clicking right now, you didn't see any of these?
No, nothing.
Awful, just so awful. Okay, so I for the sake of time, I don't want to go. I'm gonna go through each one again, just a couple of them, because there were a couple of them I really want you to see. I know Jose said he saw them, so I'm not really sure like how that happened. It's kind of weird that some people were saying they saw it, people said they didn't. So let me do this, and I apologize because I'm not really sure what happened because I was seeing it as clear as day. So can you all see this now where it says like the counterclaim?
Yes, I can.
Lisa, you see that? Okay. All right. So were there any questions about the argument? Like when I went over, like when you were going to be asked to write a counterclaim, it's always because you are pretty much going to be asked to take a side. You're going to be asked to argue a position. Did anybody have any questions about that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Does everybody understand what a counterclaim is? Pretty much you're just what you're going to be arguing what the other side would say about your argument. Is that clear to everybody?
I understand, yes.
Okay. So I went over some examples, and this is where I was talking about students taking a break after high school. And so I kind of broke it down where I took the position that students should not take a break from high school. And then we went over the reasons why. And then you always have to get your counterclaim. And we talked about your counterclaim. You have to start with something that lets the reader know that you're getting ready to switch over to a counter, and not so that way it doesn't sound like you're going to take both sides. So that's why I say some may say that taking a break from high school is a good idea. So that would be my counter. Okay, then I list my reasons why for the counter. Okay, so that's what I was doing. And then this is when I was talking about, so you all didn't even see the screen when I was talking about Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone.
Hold on, man. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
So now it makes sense. But I'm afraid to show the other side. So people kind of get scared, like, oh my goodness, I don't want to show the other side because it's going to weaken my argument. But remember, I talked about don't be afraid. Doing a counter is actually a good thing. It shows that you're well-rounded. It shows that you're not one-sided. It's going to strengthen your argument by kind of knocking out all those other things that the reader might be thinking about. You're going to address all of those things first. Okay. And then remember, you introduce your counterclaim by using many people believe or argue that. Then you're going to put your counter, or some may argue that you're going to put your counter. It is often thought that you're going to put your counter. Okay. That way it'll let your reader know hey, he or she, they're getting ready to switch over to the counter, not that I'm taking the other side. Because it can be confusing if all of a sudden you have a paragraph and now you're in support of the other side. Your reader's going to be thinking, well, now you've contradicted yourself because now you're taking two sides. So you have to be clear that I'm getting ready to start my counter. Now, this picture right here for the rebuttal, we talked about that. Every counterclaim has to have a rebuttal. So you're going to pretty much take that hammer and you're going to smash the other side. Okay. So you're pretty much destroying the other side. So simply stated, a rebuttal, which is a part of the counterclaim paragraph, is saying yes, but, or you're wrong and here's why. So I want to tell you why. Yeah, okay, your side could be true, but let me tell you why it's really not. And then you're going to rebuttal all of those points from the other side. Okay. And then I showed this screen, which I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Back to the example of taking a break after high school. And then remember the counterclaim, they said that students should take a break. So I'm going to list, and you see here with my mouse, where I say some may argue. So it's very clear now that I'm getting ready to switch over to a counter, because I'm saying like some, I'm not saying I'm arguing, I'm saying some may argue that. And then I'm going to give the reasons why here that some may argue that it's a good idea for students to take that break. And then I list all of the reasons why. I said that both of these points hold some truth, and that I say taking a break could be good because it allows students to engage in experiences. Those students who need money for college, they can definitely save up. However, then I start my rebuttal, and I'm saying, however, growth and maturity can be found and conquered on a college campus. So now I'm getting ready to rebuttal all the points that the supporters of the counterclaim could say. I'm going to rebuttal each one of those points and let you know exactly why it's wrong. Okay. So that's really what you have to do when you're getting ready to do a counter. So now I want us to practice. Okay. And so I went to this slide here, which this is pretty much kind of where I left off. Activity, English 10 semester 1, activity 7.4.1. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Let me exit out of here and go back. All right, so this was the activity and it was talking about Donald Trump. This is the assignment. So here you're going to write one paragraph that's you're either going to be in favor of or not in favor of President Trump's travel ban. And then the second paragraph is going to ask you to, it says, address the biggest argument against your opinion. And again, that would be what the counterclaim is. Okay, so for the sake of the class, and again, I have said before, this doesn't represent my opinion either way, but for the sake of the class, we're going to be not in favor of President Trump's executive order regarding or banning travel, okay, from certain countries into the United States. So what I was asking you to do in the chat box was to write down some reasons why you would be against. And even if you're in favor of, okay, and we're not really here to debate, you know, like truly someone's actual personal beliefs, but for the sake of the class, we're going to go with not being in favor of. So if everybody could just chat, or you can unmute your line and just let me know some reasons why you would be against it. And I'm going to list those here, and then we're going to slowly build up our counter argument for the other side, so we can kind of do a little bit of practice here. Okay, so family members will not be able to come and see family in the US. Okay, that was good. Okay, Jose, so I know you said you're not in favor of it because you're Hispanic, so tell me why. Like, we need some reasons so we can actually start to argue these points. And anybody else can chime in too. Now I'll put one. This might be kind of similar to the first one, but it's destroys family unit. Okay, Lisa said people should have the right to travel where they want. Okay, very good. Right. Travel where they want. Will make a big judgment on others that come from different countries to be in a safer place. Now it's saying it's preet. So preet, what is that? Can you explain what that means for me? Donna says, I'm not in favor of the travel ban because it's a free country. People should be able to come and go as they please. Okay, yep. So that's kind of along this one. I'm gonna add that one to it. And please cause a lot of stipulation when traveling. What do you mean by stipulation, Jose? I'm gonna write it down. Oh, like people from Siberia and other countries that run to the USA for a better and safer place, like running away from domestic violence. Okay, so okay. Okay, got it, Jose. So all right, so I think we got a good enough start. Obviously, we're not going to have time to write all of these things. And even when you do a counter, you don't necessarily want to counter like 5 or 6 different arguments. It's really best for you to maybe take 2 or 3 points to do your counter. So even when you're doing your own argument, you might want to address like 1 or 2, one paragraph, you would have like your first argument. Then the second paragraph, you would have the second part of your argument. Then you would do your counter. Typically, your counter usually goes after you present all of your arguments because you want your arguments to be strong and stand out. You typically present those first, then you do your counter. And then Lisa says they have a right to make and build America. They have a right to stay in the country they have invested in. Absolutely. Okay, so these are good. So now we have, remember, this is we're taking the con side. So now we have our arguments. Okay, so we're going to argue that it will destroy the family unit. We can argue that it will cause a lot of stipulations or issues when traveling. We'll argue that this is the United States and people have a right to be and travel and go as they please. We can argue that if they've already been in the United States, they should not be removed from the United States because they have invested in the country. So we can argue all these different things. Okay, so now so let's just say we presented our argument. We did our body paragraph number 1. We'll just say we did destroy family unit, and then body paragraph, and I'm abbreviating BP for body paragraph number 2. We'll say it's a free country and people have a right to live where they want to live. So we presented all of our arguments. Now we have to do our counter. Okay, so counters. Everybody kind of text me some, chat me some counters. Okay, remember the counters are And I want you to phrase it the way it should be, because remember, counter should start off with some may say that, or some may argue that. Okay. And in this case, it would be travel President Trump's travel ban to the U.S. is a good thing because, so this is where we start to do our counters, okay? So if everybody can kind of give me, because remember, now you have to start thinking, what would the other side say? It's no longer about the con anymore, because we've already presented all the issues as to why it was a bad thing. We've already written that part of our paper. We're done with that. Now we have to say the counter. So we start off with our some may say or some may argue that. So I'm very clear that I'm getting ready to start taking the other side, or presenting the other side, I should say. So some may argue that they don't belong here and they shouldn't be here. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can copy and paste this. This is good from pre. So we have, I cut off here some. So some may argue that they don't belong here and shouldn't be here. Others may say that since they aren't born here, they shouldn't have the right to come and go as they please. Okay, very good. So we got two arguments, two counter arguments. Anybody else have any other ones? These are good. You are doing a really good job. And counters can be really confusing for students because you have to really get into the mind of presenting the other side. But remember, every time you write a counter, think about Macaulay Culkin. You don't want to be scared to do it because it really presents the other side, but then you also get a chance to rebuttal. And we're going to rebuttal in a minute. Okay. Any other counters? Anybody else have another one? And I know it's hard sometimes because all you can see is your side. So a lot of times we like, I don't want to give the other side. I just have my side. But you usually have to do a counter, even if it's just one thing you counter. You have to come up with something. Sorry, I'm reading the chat box. Anybody else have another counter for me? Some say that America is their home and it's not right for them to be removed from the country. So Lisa, is that in favor of, or is that a counter? Remember, the counter has to be a counter now for this topic, for this assignment, is going to be in favor of. So what you're saying sounds more like the other side, where it's not fair for them to be removed. We need something that's going to say, because remember, we've already presented our side. We need to get the right documents to enter. Okay, Jose, explain that to me a little bit more. How is that in favor of the travel ban? Because remember, and this could be where it's kind of confusing, but now we have to think like the opposition. So the people that, if you kind of think about like a protest and you have some people on one side that are like, yay, travel ban, and then people on the other side are like, no, this is horrible. We've already did the no, this is horrible side. Okay, and we presented that side. We've argued that point all the way down. We gave destroys families. It's not fair. It's not, we've done that part. Now, remember, we have to be fair. So we want to present the counter, but the counter now in this assignment is because we've already taken the no side. It's not. We have to come by and say why some people say it might be a good thing. So does anybody have any others? We can just roll with the ones that presented, because these are actually probably what most people say. Like when you watch the news, what do people say? Like U.S. citizens use a driver's license to enhance when to travel with others, use a passport with a stamp and stuff. You need to get the right documents to enter. So Jose and Lisa, Jose and Preet, are you saying that people will be in favor of it because they have to get the right documentation? So it's a good thing because people will need their legal papers and present them so you can enter. I'm still not clear as to how that is, why people would support the ban. So if somebody can help me understand that. Because I understand that, you know, the papers and the driver's license, things like that, but why would that be something that would be in favor of the ban? And I'm only asking for clarity because I like to make sure I'm not misunderstanding what somebody is actually saying, and that we're all on the same page. Okay, yeah, Lisa says this is good. Some may agree with the travel ban because security for our country. That's good because people hear that a lot. That's a really good one, Lisa. Thank you. Some people are on the ban list and they don't know it. People that are citizens use a license and others use a passport from a different country to come because if you don't have them, they won't let you into the USA with the proper documentation. That's very true. So I understand, and I'm going to move on just for the sake of time. I do understand what Preet and Jose are saying as far as people needing certain documentation to enter the country. I guess I'm still a little foggy on how that shows support of the travel ban. So I don't want to hold everybody else up because I know we're kind of running out of time, especially because I had the technology fiasco earlier. But we'll kind of move forward. Okay, so these are really, really great counters. Okay, so let's just take one of the counters and say some say they agree with the travel ban because of security for our country. We're going to roll with that one. So I'm going to copy that one. I'm going to edit it out of here for a second. Okay, so our final counter, and again, when you do an actual counter for an essay, you can present all of these different sides. Okay, so it's not like you have to, I'm sorry, you don't want to present all, but you can do multiple. So I would say the max you should do is 2. Anything after that sometimes becomes a little too much. So after you made your list with all the cons, pick the 2 that you feel like you can actually argue the best and get the most support out of, and then roll with those. Okay, so then this will be our counter. Some say they agree with the travel ban because of security for our country. Okay, so what would be some reasons that people say that what would be some reasons about security for our country? Like what would be supporters, what reasons would they give about security for our country? I'm just going to kind of start it off just to help, but I would say they would say that allowing immigrants into the United States illegally can cause the citizens of the U.S. to be unsafe. Okay, so I'm just kind of rolling with that. And then Jose said criminals, so I'll add that. A lot of times these, a lot of times such entry into the country by immigrants can be seen as possible terrorism. Okay. Yes. And then Freak said if they don't have high security, they might be letting in terrorists and other bad guys. Yes. A lot of times it's interesting to be seen as possible terrorism, allowing terrorists of the United States to feel unsafe. Okay, so that's the reasons why. Now remember, we have to do our rebuttal. Okay, which is the rebuttal. Remember, is think about the hammer on the computer. You're getting ready to destroy the other side. So I'm not taking this side. I'm simply presenting this side. Okay, so now I have to come back and say, while this may be true. Okay, while this could while the U.S. has been struck with terror. Can anybody give me a reason, like a rebuttal for this? And normally you would start off by saying, however, while the U.S. has been struck with terrorism before, or while a lot of people might feel unsafe by immigrants, we have to come back and say why this side is wrong. Okay, so can anybody give me a rebuttal for why this side is wrong? We presented it, now we got to know why it's wrong. We're almost done. We're almost at the very end with the rebuttal. If anybody could just give me one reason why the issue about safety is wrong. Right, I agree with you, Jose. Jose is talking about a lot of hardworking Hispanics have been deported and they have been in the U.S. for years. I do understand that. Anybody? Okay, so I just kind of wrote something really quick, but remember, you want to argue the point that was presented here. Okay, so you don't want to start arguing something completely different. So if we talk about, they would say that allowing immigrants into the United States illegally can cause the citizens of the U.S. to be unsafe. A lot of times, such entry to the country by immigrants can be seen as possible terrorism, which can cause the citizens of the U.S. to feel unsafe. Now we have to rebuttal that point. So I put, while the U.S. has been struck with terrorism before, example 9/11, it is not not fair to assume that all terrorists are immigrants or in the U.S. illegally. A lot of the crime that occurs and that is committed in the U.S. happens from its own legal citizens. Okay, so I just kind of gave an example. So now I've kind of, you see, I rebutted and kind of destroyed that argument. Where, yep, that could be an argument, but I'm gonna tell you why that's not true. Okay, and then I can present another argument from the other side, and then I will say why that side isn't true. So it's almost like a counter rebuttal. Yeah, you say, but I say. This is what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. Yes, but okay. Most people that I'm just reading the comments. Jose says I'm Puerto Rican. I think PR is Puerto Rican, if I'm not mistaken, and part of the U.S. And look what they let happen to Puerto Rico. Preet says most people that cause the U.S. to be unsafe is mostly the citizens in the U.S., not the illegal immigrants that come. Yes, Preet, we just said the exact same thing. So you were dead spot on with your rebuttal. That's very good. So make sure you don't all of a sudden start talking about something else. Whatever point you argue here for the counter, then you must rebuttal those same points. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? Any last minute questions about anything? I know this could be a lot. When I do lessons, I love to be more interactive, but sometimes it's just kind of presenting just the facts. And we're kind of trying to write in paragraphs, which can be a little bit difficult to do online. But I just want to make sure that everybody at least understands the counter, what it is, how to show that you're getting ready to transition over, and then if everybody knows what a rebuttal is. So if you have any questions, and then we're going to do one little small activity. It's going to take about 3 minutes, and then we'll be done. But I want to answer any questions that anybody has, so you can unmute your line or you can write it in the chat box. Okay, so if everybody can just chat really quickly, how you should start off your counter argument sentence. How you should start off your counter argument or your counterclaim. I'm saying counter argument, but they're it's either counter argument or counterclaim. They're the same thing. How you should start off your counterclaim or your counter argument sentence. Remember, I gave you those things that you can use to show that you're getting ready to start arguing the other side, but you're not taking the other side. So if everybody can chat that. Nope, so I'm actually looking for the exact words that you should use. So I'm gonna go back to that screen really quickly. Remember we talked about these starters. Many people believe that or argue that, or some may say that, or some may argue that. That's how you should start off your sentence. So some may say that the travel ban is a great idea by President Trump. I'm letting you know that some may say that, or it's often thought that, but I'm not actually going to take that side. Okay. So maybe I didn't explain that clearly, which is why I like to kind of go over these last minute things to make sure I have that. Now, if everybody can just text or chat what a rebuttal is. What is a rebuttal? Okay, so that was good. You said some may say that Trump is cool, but others argue that he is a danger to our country. That's very good. That would definitely be a counter. Disagreeing with the counterclaim. Very good, Lisa. So that's definitely what a rebuttal is. Now I'm gonna go back to my original question. Could everybody write or chat what are your counterclaim starters? Like give me how you would start your counterclaim sentence. Very good, Lisa. Some may believe, some may argue. Very good. So that's how you know that you get ready to start your counterclaim. We have our rebuttal, which pretty much is going to um, disagree with the counterclaim and say why everything that you were doing is correct. Okay. So we're definitely going to save this recording. It'll be uploaded. It'll be shared. So people, if you need to come back, because what happens is right now, a lot of this might not make sense, but then when you have an assignment where you have to write a counterclaim, you may want to come back to the video to reference some of the slides or just to reference some of what I've been talking about. And so it'll allow you to go back and pause and, stop the video and stop in the places that you need to. Okay. So does anybody have any last minute questions? If you could just say yes or no in the box, because I'm actually done for this lesson. But if you need anything before I go, okay, Donna, no, thank you, Donna. I see your dog, Donna, very cute. Jose, no, thanks. You're very welcome, Jose. Lisa and Preet, any other last minute questions? You all have been wonderful. I'm sorry about the technology. Good night, Lisa. Preet, are you good over there? Yes, and thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. And feel free to email me or chat me if you have any other additional questions, and have a great evening.